So let's talk about that preparedness, because this is really the nature one of this podcast, but such an important part of what we do is
Mhm.
help. It's not just about getting someone to talk, it's about understanding what is needed to help that individual feel comfortable, confident, supported, and they become communicative and verbal when all these supports are there.
Mhm.
So instead of sending a child into an unknown situation, we can help prepare them. And I think about the action plan in a way of where are we going? So, listeners, where are we going? Who's going to be there? What's the nature of that event? What questions might be asked? There are going to be different questions in different situations. What is your answer? What can I ask others? And to talk and think about that. Now, that's what you would do in therapy, and the parents would support this. And the older the individual, the more they're supporting it. But these are the things we do. So it's not about just going, it's preparing. So any thoughts on that, Dr. Jenna? Any examples you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think action plans are really important because I think, we talk a lot about how many of our children don't have this roadmap. And I think that's exactly what this action plan is, as you're saying. And I think that when I work through treatment with many individuals, and like you said, the older the individual, the more autonomous they are in creating their action plans. I can create an action plan every single session, right? So when I'm working with individuals, this is primarily a lot of times what I utilize to create this preparation. And no matter what a child or teen adult is doing, we can always think about an action plan, right? So, for example, it's June 2nd today. I'm sure once it comes out, it will be maybe mid June. And many of our children and teens are finishing up with school. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, it's summer break. So there's an action plan right there of potentially like, going to a cousin's graduation or going to a family barbecue. Maybe you're celebrating, July 4th with your family down at the beach, or maybe you're going to camp for the first time and you're really nervous about what to expect there. Those are all situations that you can break down into an action plan. We can slow it down. We could think about, okay, if you think about going to your cousin's graduation, right? Who's going to be there? Let's list them out. Then once we have all that list, right? Maybe it's cousin, aunt, uncle, grandparents, friends of my cousin, right? Maybe it's staff members if we're at a restaurant or something where they're hosting it. If we think about all those different people, then the next part is, well, what might they ask me? And the reason I also think it's important to differentiate who's going to be there and to be as specific as possible is many times different individuals might ask us different things. So, for example, if you have a same age cousin, they might ask you different things like, oh, like, what are you and your friends going to be up to over the summer? Or, oh, like, tell me about like what camp you're going to. I'm also going to a camp. Let's see if they're different, versus your aunt or uncle might ask you different questions compared to your cousin. Like they might ask you, oh, how was school? Or tell me about your favorite class, right? Your cousin might not ask you that question as much compared to your grandparents or compared to the staff members. Like, are you ready to order? What do you want to eat today? Right. So the reason it's important to break that down and why we don't want to actually minimize that step. I do have some clients that I work with where sometimes they'll say, oh, yeah, we prepared questions ahead. And I'm like, well, did you think about who was going to be there though? And they're like, no. And then I was like, well, when we looked at your goals though, did you notice that we shut down right when uncle asked us a question? And I know we prepared questions, but one, we weren't expecting that question. And we also weren't thinking about how uncle might ask us a different question compared to like our grandparent or our cousin. So I do think that step is really important. And then the next piece of that is because many times, we find that it's really difficult to initiate compared to responding. We always want to be thinking about